Hey guys, this is James from Man Tripping, and we are here on the Men Who Blog Virtual Happy Hour. Um, I know some of you are watching, honestly, all of you guys should be sympathetic of what's going on right now across the United States. We are too. We absolutely support peaceful protest, and we look forward to supporting all causes and supporting all of our brothers and sisters around the country and around the world in recovery and keeping everybody healthy and safe and all that. So, with that being said, the tone's a little bit different on this episode. But we'd already scheduled a show talking about pandemic recovery in Mexico, and we want to make sure that that doesn't get pushed aside, even though other topics at hand are probably more current for a lot of you guys. So anyhow, with that in mind, we're going to skip over the joke today. Really want to support our friends and brothers and sisters in Mexico, and especially those guys of us in San Diego and Southern California. These aren't just people down there and people that we see on vacation. These are literally our family members, our friends, our doctors, our veterinarians, and whatever we can do to help support these guys is really important right now. So that being said, we have a great group of guests online lined up today. We have Letty from the International Community Foundation, an organization that's raising money to help support NGOs in Mexico and specifically the border towns. Then we've got Darren from Spirited Mexico and Scent Am Travel, who is going to be talking about some of the stuff that he's doing both with tours down in Oaxaca, but also pandemic recovery. And then a special shout out to our friends at Velas Resorts who have just announced that they're donating, I think, 30,000 masks and other supplies to support the people that are around their resorts. So, Kevin, I apologize. I told you I was going to let you introduce people, and then I went ahead and just couldn't stop talking. So,
well, you forgot to introduce Pub Club at Ashley.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Ashley.
Who is drinking a margarita, and our bartender Gabby will be on shortly, who will be making some creative Mexican cocktails. James, we also would like to give a shout out to Don Julio. They have sent us some great bottles. James actually has that big bottle. He can explain it better than me. It's a 1942. It's a rare, great blend of their tequila that is absolutely spectacular. So I've heard. He's going to be kind enough to give Ashley, Gabby, and myself some of that a little bit later on when Ashley and Gabby come down here to San Diego to do the show with us on Thursday. I want to show you, I have a shot glass that I found with a senorita wearing a sombrero. So I will be sipping this Don Julio out of this. I know that's pretty funny, isn't it? And I've actually, James is going to laugh, but the cocktail I've made, James laughs at me for putting orange juice and everything. But I went for a run today, and I started thinking about this show, and I started singing Tequila Sunrise as I was running. So I thought that was kind of a sign that I should probably drink a Tequila Sunrise.
I was going to say you need to run harder because if you can talk, you're not running harder.
Well, I feel great because I did go for – I feel great. I went for a run today. I forced myself to go out and run, and I'm glad I did. James, Ashley, I ran by the place you guys are staying, and down by the waterfront, and, the USS Midway and some other stuff out there. I do want to, like James said, I want to reach out and just say that, we are sympathetic to the plight that's happened and what the country's going through. And, my opinion is that we should respect everybody, no matter what color their skin is or where they're from. I'm fortunate my parents, even from being in the South, brought me up to treat people as people and not by stereotyping but just because where they're from or what their skin color is. And I'm very fortunate my parents really brought me up right in that way. And I hope that I just wish everybody had parents like mine to bring us up like that. But hey, we'll get.
I think we should do a toast to, to all of those who are who may be silent right now but do support everything. I think there's a lot of us that have these thoughts, these emotions that want to support people, but just feel awkward, going out there and posting on social media, or maybe they're not overly social media savvy anyhow. But make no. I don't know what the right wording is. But,
we
anyhow, it should be understood that there's a lot of people who support racial progress and all that may not be, cause people, but there's a lot of allies out there who do support these things. So, to those of you who are saying that silence means complicity, you're wrong. But we do support what we can do through economic means, through education, through exploration, and that's what I love about travel, because a lot of Americans think of Mexico as this foreign place, but it's not. There's great people there. Some of my best friends are there. Some of my the best chefs, the best distillers I've ever met in my life are down there, and through that we can all grow together as one people. So, cheers. Thank you, Don Julio, for providing this, and everybody else at home.
That's great.
Very.
Salud.
Salud. That's really good stuff. By the way, I do want to say that I had an aunt. She was a missionary. She worked in Mexico City. And I was in college, but my parents and my sister went down to visit her one time. And I didn't get to go on the trip to Mexico City, but they came back. They're from Tennessee, so they're not exactly used to New York City or something. They go to Mexico City, and there's just, it's just this crazy frenzy and, fast pace and everything. And one story they told, my aunt had this old VW Bug that she used to drive. And she heads down an alley, and they see a sign that says one way going the other way. And they're like, it's one way, it's one way. And my aunt yelled out, well, I'm only going one way.
That's on my bucket list too. I would love to go to Mexico City as a foodie. I've been told that you haven't lived if you haven't experienced some of the food down there, and it's not just
that would be
just
absolutely
Mexican
correct.
food.
I hear it's
Exactly.
I hear it's spectacular in Mexico City, and I wouldn't at least be scared to go into a busy, crazy, frenzy place. Heck, I lived in LA. But most of my Mexico experience has been in Baja, and I've been to Mazatlan once, and then I was working for the IndyCar racing series, and we had a race in Monterrey, Mexico, which I actually really, really like that town. So I just
It's beautiful.
It was beautiful. The people were great, and a quick story there, not to bore you to death, but I gone out one night, just by myself, and I met this really beautiful girl. I mean, just absolutely stunning, beautiful Mexican girl. And
everything comes back to that, doesn't it, Kevin?
Everything comes back to a girl. So, but I went out and I met them, and her sister was there, and met them, and I don't know how I managed to do this, but I managed to get a date with her. I don't speak hardly any Spanish. She didn't speak a lick of English. So, but I got her number, and I had a girl in a press room who was fluent, who was able to call her up and set the date up with me for this girl. And I remember I was leaving the hotel to go out with this girl. Actually, she was coming there to meet me, and I said, "Hey, telling the guy at the desk, here's how friendly they are." I said, "I want to tell her when she shows up that she looks really pretty. I just really want to give her a big compliment." And he says, "Bonita." I said, "Yeah, what about that?" He says, "That's the only thing you need to say, bonita." She shows up. She looked gorgeous. And I just looked at her and said, "Bonita." And she just melted into my arms. We walked out the door, and they had a plaza with some live music going on. It was a great, great, great experience. But as we're walking out the door, and she's just, melted in my arms, I turned back to the guy and said, "Thank you."
Well, with that story and the love for Mexico,
Very deep story. Yeah.
Bonita, ladies.
It
Gracias.
certainly includes loving our neighbors, and I think one of the challenges that a lot of us that have looked at the issue recently is that there's some import. I'm sorry, what's that, Ashley?
Right now, I see him outside.
The protesters or Mexicans? Oh.
Oh.
She's in Hermosa Beach, and they're under lockdown.
For what it's worth, there's stuff going on outside of our loft here in downtown San Diego. But anyhow, what I was going to say is that, while we can send stuff very easily, face masks or whatever, to our friends in Texas or New York, those kind of within the United States. There's some different import-export laws, and people don't necessarily know which organizations to fund and to support to really have an impact in Mexico. So when I heard about the International Community Foundation through Governor Newsom's press conference. I don't know, at this point, it seems like about 4 years ago, but it was probably only about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I started looking
Yeah,
at what Letty's organization is doing, and what and some of my friends in Mexico saying, like, hey, are these guys legit? Are these guys the real thing, or is this just somebody raising money that whatever? And they said, yeah, that International Community Foundation (ICF) is a good group. So I really wanted to bring Letty on and talk more about what she's doing. So Letty, if you're ready, I'd love to be able to learn more and tell us how we can help support you guys.
Of course. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Well, as you speak about Mexico, for me, it's amazing. I am Mexican. You can tell because of my accent. And we are International Community Foundation. It's a nonprofit based in San Diego. We've been working for 30 years in the region, in the border region, but we work all around Mexico. So now that you were talking about Oaxaca, Durango, Monterrey, we have different grantees all around Mexico that are doing an amazing job. And we have a team of international development and nonprofit professionals that completely bilingual, and we work with different local groups on the ground. So what are we doing now? ICF is constantly working with different nonprofits in Mexico and Latin America, as I told you. But when this pandemic happened, ICF immediately responded. We responded to the Baja California Peninsula, but we all, like, as you were talking about the border region, how close we are to Tijuana, how close we are to Mexicali. We've been fundraising left and right to be able to provide the emergency support to different nonprofits. So I am bringing, this is the first time we were telling these numbers, like since March of 2020, this year, ICF was able to grant over $3 million in Mexico and Latin America. Out of those $3 million, over 320,000 are for Baja California. We just granted to 30 organizations in Baja California, especially for the ones that are working with asylum seekers, migrants, and health-related nonprofits. I can name you Fronteras Unidas por Salud. I can name Casa Arcoiris. All of these local and mighty nonprofits, we are so proud to be their partners because they are on the ground. We are like close to them, but we cannot do this without our amazing group of donors. So, and also, like, donors are bringing all of these capacities, all of these willing to support Mexico. And we have amazing partners too, San Diego Grantmakers, Latina Giving Circle. This is about humanity. With This is About Humanity, we launched a super amazing matching campaign to support nonprofit organizations in Tijuana, and we were able to fundraise $100,000 just to fund local nonprofits for PPE, for different, to Apoyemos a Tijuana. That is, I don't know if you guys have heard about Apoyemos a Tijuana.
No.
No? Oh my God. Well, as you know, it's so cool because, I mean, it's everything that is happening is so sad that when someone is doing something amazing, it's something that we have to honor, right? So, as you know, Tijuana has the highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases after the state of Mexico and Mexico City. So that is like 20 minutes from your home, probably. So, as you know, San Diego and Chula Vista, San Isidro are highly contagious by COVID-19. So Apoyemos a Tijuana is an amazing initiative of citizens in Tijuana who decided to say, okay, the hospitals are maxed. So what can we do? So if you guys like sports, there's a basketball auditorium called the Zonkies. The Zonkies, like zebra, donkey, Zonkies. The Zonkies. I know, it's a burro, zebra. You've been in Tijuana, so you know what I'm talking about. So this is like
a very interesting place.
Exactly. So the Apoyemos a Tijuana turned the Zonkis auditorium into a temporal hospital. So they are receiving patients of COVID. So yeah, and last week we were able to grant them $100,000 in partnership with This Is About Humanity.
Great.
So we are doing a lot. We want to do more. We need help. All of our donations, we don't do in-kind donations because it's hard. Dealing with customs and all of this stuff is hard because a lot of people call us like, I want to bring masks, I want to bring gloves, I want to bring food. And it's risky. Like if your audience is like willing to bring masks or gloves or food, I will ask them to step back because you will deal with Mexican customs and they are not like very friendly, to be honest. And they can take the stuff that you want to bring down. So it's risky. So one of our plus is that all the contributions that you do to the International Community Foundation, all the contributions are legal, are fully tax deductible for American citizens or American taxpayers, and all the contributions are monitored by the ICF staff. So we know where your money is. And we know that you want to support, like you want to give $20 for this food basket to this family in Mexicali. We can grant those $2. It's hard to give the $20 to a nonprofit, but we can put it in a pool to grant to a nonprofit that is doing an amazing job in Mexicali around food. You know what I mean? So that is ICF. ICF is rocking the ground now, is trying to do a lot to bring more donors on board. To bring more donors on board. And we are close. We are here in San Diego. We are bilingual. We can talk to the grantees in fluent Spanish. We can talk to the donors in English. So if you are willing to support us, just click here, icfdn.org. And we are very, very happy to help you. And thank you again. I don't know if you have any questions. The situation is hard. And we know we're dealing with COVID now. We're dealing with a lot of things in the US, and we have to honor that. But let's not forget that the health of our neighbors is also our health. We are so close that we cannot ignore that. Like now the borders are closed for essential traveling. Maybe you are missing to go to Rosarito or to Puerto Nuevo or whatever, but that will end. So what's next? We have to build resilient communities. So I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. Anything that you need from ICF, let me know. And I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Well, I guess one question, just to reiterate, so any amount is accepted. So someone could donate $10 or $20.
Absolutely.
And then also I think you and I have talked about this before, but just to reiterate also, probably the tequila's kicking in. Is that
that quickly, huh?
This is not an organization that's only for pandemic recovery. This is something that 6 months from now or 3 months from now, as businesses in Mexico are recovering, as opposed to trying to simply get healthy, that you're going to be there as well. So these funds and these efforts are ongoing. Correct?
Yeah, and of course. Like we work with over 150 nonprofits in Mexico and Latin America for over 30 years. So if you are interested in Oaxaca, we work with the Oaxaca Community Foundation. If you are interested in Puerto Vallarta, we have an amazing nonprofit organization called CETAC. So we are all around Mexico, and we've been working with Mexico and Latin America too for a while. Yeah, like we respond very fast to disasters like COVID or you remember the 2017 earthquake in Mexico City. We were able to fundraise over $100,000 in weeks and it's so amazing because when you read the name of the donors, like all of the names, most of them like American Americans and Mexican Americans. It was beautiful to see the American response to support Mexico. So as now. Like there are more lovely Americans than the people that we see on TV.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really glad you guys are doing that. It is challenging to know who to trust. It's tough in the United States sometimes to know which charities to trust, but doubly so when you're doing something in a country that you're not that familiar with. So,
I have a question for Letty
Yes.
on your foundation's work. You said you work in other Latin American countries.
Correct.
Are there any? Can you address just briefly what you might see as other than Mexico? What needs are in other Latin American countries right now? I'm asking specifically because I have a friend in El Salvador, and in addition to COVID, they just got hit with a tropical storm, and it's a small poor country. So, but other than that, what other countries have you worked with?
Guatemala, we work a lot with Guatemala. El Salvador too, but it's more related to environment issues.
Okay.
South America, this week we have a donor so interested in South America. We're making grants to Peru, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and I'm missing one. I think it's Venezuela, the last one. And we also support Nicaragua. So we are, in most of these Latin American countries. And we always like, when this is, for example, now that you're talking about disasters, we always reach to local nonprofits. There are a lot of international nonprofits helping, and that's amazing. Like you have Save the Children, you have all of these big nonprofits, but we always love, like in ICF, we have this rule. It's not written anywhere, but you can talk to the team, and they're so passionate. Like we like to call the local and grassroots nonprofits to listen to their needs. So that's how we address most of the funds and the needs. We have to assess them because we know a lot of nonprofits in Mexico, Central and South America. And if something like specific happens, we know who to call and how to react.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
Well, welcome back, welcome back, Ashley. She wound up spilling a margarita all over herself.
I haven't seen a parade in person. I've only seen on the news, and it's down my street, right outside my house. And I just clipped the it's a big rim, and I clipped it, and it just went everywhere. I'm sticking in sticky right now. But
Good.
I'm sorry, roommate.
Well, we're always sad to see good spirits go to waste.
No kidding. Well, our bartender Gabby, I think she went to make a drink. There she is. Hey, Gabby.
Hi. I have to grab my.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys? I'm so sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
I thought it was Thursday, but I made a mistake. My bad. How are you guys doing?
Everything's all messed up right now, so
no one will notice. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What magic potion do you have there, Gabby?
Some Classy Azul, because I haven't received a Don Julio yet, so.
It's beautiful. The bottle is beautiful.
Wow. I see that in a bar all the time, but I don't know. So that's good.
Mini. They have like these little mini ones that are like, I think they're like 8 to 10 ounces or something like that. I'm not sure. But they're the smaller version of the original bottle, which is kind of bigger. But yeah, it's good. I love it.
And it's good. Look, we support the local community foundation in Oaxaca, and they work with mezcal producers. So
I love mezcal.
If you are interested to make a donation to the Oaxaca Community Foundation, you are more than welcome.
Yes, definitely. I was in Oaxaca last year, and I absolutely love Oaxaca. I love mezcal, and I definitely want to go back. But I'll definitely donate. Yeah, there's a link.
Yeah.
And then Darian, I know you have 2 bottles as well. Are your bottles
I
from
do.
the groups that you support down in Oaxaca?
They are affiliated with people I've worked with there professionally. One is from Fortaleza, which is a tequila.
That's my favorite.
It's a really, and this is a special 2019 winter blend. So it's a mixture of, it's a reposado, so it's aged from 3 months to a year. And I forget the exact percentage, but it's a mixture of American and French oak barrels.
Ooh, that's
It is not an inexpensive tequila. However, if you can find it anywhere, I cannot recommend it enough. Fortaleza in general, but this particular one specifically.
Their Reposado is amazing. I love that
Yeah.
one. Winter
And
blend.
then I have one here, which is called Suerte. It's a Blanco. And it's a tequila. The company's the label Suerte is actually based in the U.S., but they do a lot of really good tequilas down there in the Highlands area. So not quite the town of Tequila.
In Oaxaca?
No, it is in Jalisco.
Jalisco.
Right.
Jalisco.
And this is actually a special one from a tasting room in tequila itself. It's a special high proof 50% Blanco that is deadly, but bellissimo. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Well, we've been saying this many times for virtually everybody that we talk with, but we will definitely be wanting to go down to Oaxaca as well as Jalisco. I'm even giving my solidarity to my friends in Puerto Vallarta. I apologize when I picked this background. I didn't quite think that the seahorse was going to be coming out of my head lined up.
I didn't know if that was that or the mohawk.
My mohawk. So no, I do not have a seahorse coming out of my head, but
Nope,
and
we didn't notice it at all.
because it's a background. If I go like this, it really doesn't. Well, actually, I guess that sort of worked, but now it looks. Oh, there we go.
James,
But
we
anyhow,
talk about your new mohawk. So let's go right ahead and just talk about it. You already look like you have even more of one with the seahorse.
yeah, I probably picked the wrong weekend to shave my head, but it feels way more comfortable, and I'm glad that I didn't shave it all the way off because that would have sent the wrong symbol.
Well, if you did not, like I said, then we could differentiate the colors.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm going to talk to my stylist, and she's watching downstairs, so maybe on Thursday.
Like blue or green or something fun in there.
So
Now, Letty and Darian, my friend went to off a cruise. It was a Mexican Riviera cruise, and he came back with this incredible bottle of rum from Mexico. Are you aware that Mexico actually makes rum? James, have you heard of this?
Yes.
I have. There's a rum distillery, I think, in Puerto Vallarta.
So,
Okay.
Well, I am from San Luis Potosí, and we have our own rum.
Really?
Well, there you go.
okay,
Yeah.
Letty,
From
we'll have,
Potosí.
we will have to talk, Letty, because that is my favorite city in Mexico, San Luis Potosí.
Oh my God.
It's
I was
amazing.
born and raised Potosina.
That's friends.
I was there in January, and I visited Real Catorce and the whole area. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So Gabby will be
You have
back.
my contact. I am open to talk to
Absolutely.
her.
Gabby will be back, but I wanted to bring Tom on for just a second to say hi to you, Letty. I know you have to leave in just a moment.
Yeah.
But Tom is from Bourbon Blog, and he not only loves whiskey but loves all sorts of spirits, including tequila. So
Okay.
He's also very well dressed.
That's an amazing introduction.
Well,
Tom and I like to get
Thanks-
easy on stuff.
thanks,
but,
James.
It's a lot of fun.
yeah, thank you guys. Nice to meet you, Letty, and good to see you, Darian, Kevin, Ashley, James, everybody. I'm actually having a margarita, so I made myself a margarita with a little of this, which we're going to try in a few nights. I hear a little Prospero tequila. So grab that, James, and I've been listening to the chat. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Good stuff.
Well, good. We're good. We learned from our James.
It's a tricky question now.
Letty's a lot of fun, folks. We had a pre conversation a couple weeks ago with the three of us, with James, her, and I, and folks, she's a fun person. So whatever she attaches herself to, you want to get involved in it.
Excellent. Very good.
And I definitely want to bring you back. I love Latin America in general, and that's obviously it's a huge area. But I was excited the fact that you mentioned specifically Peru.
Yeah.
We need to have a Pisco episode.
I can help. I can help with that. I'm just saying, I can help with that.
For those of you who have never tried Pisco, it is I think it's
so
an acquired
good.
taste, but it can be so good. And historically, the thing I think is fantastic is that up until Prohibition, Pisco is actually one of the dominant spirits here on the West Coast. Because 49ers coming around around South America and up, we're able to pick it up in South America and bring it up into San Francisco, and Pisco sours, such good stuff, such an amazing cultural story behind it. But I don't want to sidetrack from tequila right now. But I wanted to just throw that
People
out there.
from Chile will say that Pisco is from Chile.
And Chile,
People from
I learned that on a cruise ship once. I was talking to
Yeah.
well, my country has better Pisco. And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh, sorry."
yeah. Be careful when you talk
Wow.
about it. Yeah.
And then we did many sips of pisco, and we were both friends. And cheers. I hope that guy's okay. But anyhow, it's a
Thank
great
you
spirit.
very much for your time.
Thank you, Letty.
Thank you
you.
for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Have you back.
Of course, I am
Muchas
available
gracias.
anytime you want. Muchas gracias a ustedes y gracias a todas las personas que nos están viendo. Thank you. The ICF link is there.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
She's nice and she's fun. She's got a great, lively spirit. We know that from talking to her on the phone.
Yeah.
And there's Gabby again.
Yummy.
So I'm just thrilled to be able to.
I had to make a Paloma.
Ooh, Paloma. We talk about a lot of silly stuff on here, and I think it's good to be able to leverage our audience. Even if I can already tell, looking at the numbers, that, to be honest, I think people tuning in weren't as thrilled about talking about charities and nonprofits and that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately, without us supporting and using our skills and our talents to raise awareness for causes in general that we support, not just Mexico, that happens to be what we're talking about today, but other recovery efforts across the country. I look forward to leveraging what we're doing for good to support other causes in the future too. So, and apparently people like that, because we went from 10 to 20 people in the last 30 seconds. So apparently, people are excited to support causes in productive and positive ways. So I'm thrilled to be able to talk about that, because ultimately, Darren, you do a lot of tours, and
Right.
I think there's no better way to build I hate to say racial unity, but unity among people, whether it's cultural or racial,
Right.
than
Right.
to actually get out there and experience people firsthand, to
Right.
to share tequila with them, to share a piece of steak, or learn how the agave is actually harvested.
Right.
Those are ways that
Cultural.
you guys can help people really
Right.
understand Mexico. And
Cultural.
thank you.
Yeah, and so what I do, I'll jump in here. I'm Darian. I have a company called Centam Travel, which is just a travel agency. I specialize in Latin American travel, but my sub-product, if you will, is a company called Spirited Mexico. With Spirited Mexico, we do food and drink tours to various parts of Mexico that are ultra immersive in the entire culture and experience of what's going on in the communities we visit. Oaxaca is known for mezcal. 85% of all mezcal comes from the state of Oaxaca in Mexico. So we'll go there as an example on a 6-day tour of Oaxaca. You'll spend 2 days in town learning about mezcal, visiting some restaurants, everything from street food to high-end stuff. Then we'll spend a few days in rural Oaxaca, either in a really small mezcal producing community or at a ranch, and see the day-to-day lives of these mezcaleros, see them go out in the fields and cultivate these plants, see how they care for them. Some of them they care for and they don't harvest for 25 years or more. And we'll see them bring it back, and we'll help them everything from chopping up the agave hearts to helping with the fermentation and the distillation, and then finally, of course, getting to taste a little sip right off the still when it's coming off, which is really an amazing experience. But we do other immersive cultural experiences. One of my personal favorites is a barbacoa, where you wake up at 5 a.m. and you go out to the hole and behind the ranch where you're staying that's lined with hot rocks, and you wrap the goat or lamb or whatever they have, bury it in the ground, come back later after lunch, dig it up, and there's your lunch. So it's a history lesson, it's a lesson in culture, and it really does provide a way to connect with members of these communities, because you're living their life with them. Even if only for a day or two, you get a much better understanding what's going on in those communities specifically. We also offer a tour to Guadalajara and Tequila, the state of Jalisco, which is where the city of Tequila is from, where tequila is made. Tequila is a variety of mezcal. Mezcal is the generic term for all agave spirits and distillates. Tequila is obviously the most widely known. There's also other lesser known ones like Raicilla, which is also in parts of near Puerto Vallarta, Bacanora, Sotol, which is from the Daisylirian plant, which is related to an agave, and a few other minor ones. And to address the point that I forget who was making it earlier, but about other spirits in Mexico, we do include some of this as well. In Oaxaca, you have rum. They're making gin now, and there is some Mexican bourbon. I wouldn't say that I am a bourbon expert. I'll leave that to Tom. I think their bourbon is in its infancy, and I really hope it grows because it's a really exciting thing. But some of their rums there are really, really good and very unique flavors. More almost like a rum agricole, where it's kind of like a weird, oddly flavored rum, rather than like your traditional kind of like aged barrel rum that you get from Mexico or other countries in Latin America.
Well, I think we got to have you on again in a more kind of geeky opportunity, because I know that I would love to talk more about the actual process of harvesting and how a Mexican bourbon might differ from a Kentucky bourbon. Right. But I probably most of the guys watching this would not be as interested as Tom and I would be. So
I do want to say one more little bit about when James and I spoke earlier about travel to Mexico. Letty's Foundation is doing great work. There are a lot of other great foundations there as well. The thing to remember about Mexico is, unlike much of the United States, the Mexican economy is extremely dependent on tourism. They miss our tourist dollars because that's how a lot of people in Mexico feed their families. The current situation on travel to Mexico is, if you have a legitimate family or business emergency, you are allowed to travel, but that is actively discouraged. And if you land on a plane in Mexico City and you don't have a legit reason to be there, they'll send you right back. Having said that, travel in Mexico...
Oh, the tequila factory is not legitimate?
No, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know who's judging this, but the kettle.com says that's legitimate, right, girls?
Right. Tentatively, travel is supposed to open up June 22nd for tourism. And in most of your large resort areas, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Southern Baja, Acapulco, they will be accepting travelers certainly by July 1st is the plan right now. And as we all know, things are very fluid. Other more rural parts of Mexico are going to be phasing in over July. And my understanding is that their goal is to have everything open as it can be by September 1st. So for those of you that are wanting to go to Mexico, a little bit more patience. You might be able to go somewhere. And ideally later this year in the winter, you'll be able to go pretty much anywhere. I'm missing it because through my work, I get to Mexico and Latin America anywhere from 3 to 6 times a year. I know a lot of people are going to say I'm whining, but I haven't been to Mexico in 5 months and it's killing me. I gotta go. And then once it opens up, we'll be able to, resume the regular tours to a lot of these smaller villages that are kind of closed off. A lot of the mezcal and tequila villages they've just closed themselves off and said, we're going to wait for 6 months or 4 months, 6 months, whatever, see how this goes, and then open up the travelers later. So.
Well, hopefully they're able to sustain that downtime. I know, I suspect that the Mexican government is not quite as equipped as our government was with pandemic unemployment assistance and those kind of things. So I hope that there's some of these guys who are literally surviving, paycheck to paycheck or harvest to harvest, they're able to survive. You told me before that you're working with some farmers doing some recovery efforts and some green farming and free trade kind of stuff. Is that did I understand that correctly?
Yes. So let me tell you a little bit more. I work with an organization based in Chicago called Sacred, which stands for Saving Agave for Cultural, Recreational, and Educational Development. It's run by a friend of mine in Chicago here. Their website is sacred.mx. And what they do is they raise money in the U.S., just like ICF, and they specifically work to assist in agave farming communities throughout Mexico, primarily in Oaxaca, because that's where most mezcal is made. And they work on larger scale infrastructure projects. They're not doing any kind of direct stuff where they buy food for a community. What they do a lot of is they will raise money and then they'll hire an engineer to go to a small town and help them build a dam or a reservoir system. They'll build a library in a small community so that the kids have school books. One of the things that excites me the most that they work with is a group called Sicanda near Oaxaca. And this is a group that it's comprised of, it literally is a foundation that helps people that live in garbage dumps outside of Oaxaca and basically are garbage scavengers and then resell other people's garbage. But what they did is they helped establish a school there, and they'll go to rural parts of Mexico and they'll buy seeds for various types of agave that are used in making mezcal. They give those to the school. The school kids grow these plants, and when the plants are a year or two old, they're maybe 4 or 6 inches tall, and they can be replanted outdoors. The organization then buys those plants for anywhere from 2 to 5 times what the market value is for those plants, and then donates them to these rural communities that can replant them. So basically, it's a way that if done properly, these organizations can take $1 and make it work for 2 or 3 different people and give them the tools to create something, and then in turn purchase what they've created and donate it somewhere else so they can create yet another thing from that.
That's fantastic. Now, for those of you who may be watching and aren't familiar with where Oaxaca is, can you describe where Oaxaca is? I'm sure everyone knows where Cozumel and Cancun is, but
right. So Oaxaca, if you imagine Mexico kind of curving all the way down, it's backwards here. I'm curving all the way down. The bottom curve along the Pacific Ocean, that state of Mexico is Oaxaca. Huatulco is the big beach city there. Oaxaca is where about roughly 85% of all mezcal is made in Mexico, because it has the widest variety of wild agave and is best suited to a lot of cultivated varieties. However, mezcal can be made in 8 other different Mexican states: San Luis Potosí, Tamaulipas, Guerrero, Durango, Puebla, Jalisco, and I'm probably missing something on that list. So most mezcal is from Oaxaca. However, it does come from many other parts of Mexico.
Gotcha.
Well, I see Tom sucking down that margarita. Gabby,
I'm enjoying the margarita, yes.
But I make the Pub Club blended margaritas, and they're great. But how do you make a regular margarita, without that crappy mix you buy in the store? How do you make a good homemade margarita?
Just fresh lime juice and agave and your tequila or mezcal, whatever you want to choose. But
nothing more to it than that, because
just the mix has a lot of. There's a lot of artificial. Sometimes there's artificial flavor, or there's preservatives. You can kind of taste when something has preservatives in it. I don't really like that. Too. So fresh lime juice is just my thing. I just always do fresh juices, fresh. Yeah. I try to do fresh syrups when I make it here, but I try to make my ingredients as organic as possible, because everything just kind of comes out more you taste more natural flavors, and there are natural flavors it kind of brings out more of the taste in your tequila or mezcal, whatever you're drinking. It's what I feel. But if you want to make something at home, I like it a little more on the limey side. So you always want to have your balanced citrus and sweet. So you want to do your fresh 1 ounce fresh lime juice and 0.75 agave. At home, agave actually has a lot of fructose levels. So I use honey. I use a diluted honey, and I use that with mezcal all the time. It kind of balances my smoky and my sweet and my citrus. It's a perfect balanced mezcal drink. So that's my go-to at home. I just made the Paloma. So I use the Milagro, and then fresh grapefruit, lime juice, a little agave, and then I can put soda or squirt, whatever you prefer. I like soda. kind of like squirt, but yeah, whatever you want to choose. But
one other comment on that, as an Agave Spirits aficionado, I'm sure that the bartenders here know that, but always use 100% agave tequila. I'm not going to call it any major names, but a lot of tequila can be as low as 51% agave, which means it's 49% things you don't really want to put in your body because they'll make your head feel really bad the next day.
That's a for the worm.
And that's given tequila a really bad name for Americans.
Yeah. Always look for, even if you're trying to buy an affordable tequila, of which there are plenty of great affordable tequilas, always make sure it's 100% agave.
Well, I can tell you that I'm extremely impressed with the Tequila Sunrise that I made with the Don Julio. It is
Nice.
It is really good. No, I had a couple extra juices in I put in with it too, very lightly over the top. But this is a really, really good drink. And that Don Julio, maybe you think you don't put that into orange. My philosophy was I put good rum into my rum drinks with juice. So I said, well, let me put a good tequila in there and see what that turns out to be like. I'm kind of curious. And I'll tell you what, that Don Julio putting in there, that is a delicious drink I'm having right now. I'm really, really enjoying it.
And for those of you talking about affordable tequilas, Don Julio is a good entry level, but even this is like $40. But the difference is this is the kind of tequila that you can enjoy sipping and still smell the floral notes and that kind of stuff. But
you sure can.
But to your point, there's a lot of, I've seen $20 tequilas. Actually, to be honest, I don't know if I've actually bought Blanco in the U.S., so I don't know what the prices are here in the U.S., but certainly there's a lot of market share available right now for lesser cost tequilas.
There are, for those that are on social media, there are a few really good tequila and agave Facebook groups that will have, without plugging one particular brand over another, will have kind of a generic list of what are the highly regarded brands by aficionados, some of which are available for $30 to $40 a bottle for really, really good stuff, and it goes way up from there. It goes way up from there. But trust me. But
what is that? What is that Fortaleza you're drinking? What's
it's so
okay?
Good. That's like my
so this is a Fortaleza Reposado.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and this is they have a Blanco, Reposado, an Añejo, and an extra Añejo, and then they also have a Blanco still strength, which is a much higher proof Blanco. I think it's 48 or 50, somewhere around there. So this is a Reposado, so that means it's the first. It's the of the aged varieties, it's the least aged, which I believe is 3 to 12 months in oak. This particular one, as you can see there, it says Winter Blend 2019. This was aged, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but I believe it's 60% American oak, 40% French. I could be completely wrong on those numbers, but it's a mixture of oak barrel aged tequilas that they mix together. And something like this, which is a once-a-year product, I mean, retail, if you can get it when it comes out, probably approaching $100 a bottle. If you can find one of these bottles anywhere for under $100 a bottle, buy every one you can, and I will buy them all from you. Because
just as a shout out, I looked up our friends from Old Town Tequila.
Yes.
If anybody here in San Diego, that is absolutely the best store in
I'll
San
be
Diego
there
to buy
Thursday.
tequila. Are you? I couldn't recommend them more. So they priced that bottle at $99.99, so $100,
Right.
and it says maximum purchase 1 unit, and then it even goes on to say first shipment has sold out. Use our add to wish list option. Limit 1 per customer.
Yeah, it's not coming back. It's a once-a-year product, but
Yeah.
So Gabby, if you see it down there when you go there on Thursday, please grab us a bottle.
I'll grab you one. I can ask my work too, because we have a few bottles of the Reposado as well.
Yeah.
Actually,
Their whole lineup is really good too. I mean, it's not just this one.
the Reposado is actually my favorite out of the Fortaleza, though. I would have to say.
Right.
I've tried all of them, and like the Reposado is just like excellent. I don't know.
Right.
Who's Fortaleza?
They're delicious. We actually spent some time with the founder, who I'm sure you've met, Darian Guillermo, a couple of years ago at Tells the Cocktail in New Orleans, and I got to chat with him and interview him, and I really like their stuff a lot. And Now, a quick question for you. You were mentioning whiskeys made in Mexico. What are there some distilleries we should look at? I know James said we could have that conversation later, but are there some distilleries that you love? They're making a bourbon style whiskey in Mexico, which.
Okay, to answer your question specifically, are there any that I love? No. There are some that I know of. No. I think their bourbon it's really in its infancy.
Right.
It's a new thing for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's for a bourbon blogger.
Right.
Now is the time to learn about it. So then when it's a big thing 3, 4, 5 years from now, you're well versed on it. There are a couple brands that I've had that I thought were, okay. I'm not as much into bourbon as I'm into the other spirits. I will find the name of one or two of them I know, and through James I can get that information to you. I don't have them handy.
Abba Solo is one of I know that's like the only one I've had. It's called Abba Solo, and it's made in Mexico, and it's a corn-based whiskey.
Right. That sounds familiar.
I think it goes for like around like $40 or something like that. You can find it. I think you can find it here. It's not too bad, but you definitely it kind of tastes like an añejo almost. It's like it's really light, and you taste a lot of like agave flavors in it.
Right. I think the thing with the bourbons there specifically is, if you're an American spirits drinker, you probably started out as a bourbon drinker, because that's the big thing here. If you're a Mexican in Mexico City starting out as a bourbon drinker, you're probably coming at it with the flavor profiles of tequila and mezcal as your background. So I think that their blending and how they come up with what they're doing is they're starting at a different point, and maybe that affects the end product, which is why I find it unusual. It's kind of the difference of American bourbons and whiskeys and like Japanese whiskeys. They're really good, but they're just kind of different.
Oh yeah.
I love the nose on Japanese whiskeys, but I can't stand the flavor. And the Japanese oak, or what is it they use? It's delicious smelling, but I can't get over the actual flavor of it. I'm just not a.
Yeah, I really like Japanese. I think they're really interesting, and some of them are very Scotch-like, and some are a little bit sweeter than others. So yeah.
Now, Darian, as far as the and actually Gabby as well, as far as the Mexican whiskeys, do you see those in the U.S., or is that something that we need to go across the border to get?
Yeah, the Abba Solo you can get here. Actually, I know for a fact. I don't know a lot about Mexican whiskeys, but that's the only one I know of here. It's like it's a brown square bottle. It's kind of tall, and it's called Abba Solo.
Yeah, that I know is for sure available here. I'm sure Old Town Tequila is one of the top handful of agave and Mexican spirits liquor retailers in the United States. It's probably top 3 or 4. There's one in Chicago, one in New York that are really good. I'm sure they could.
What do you recommend in Chicago?
There's a store called Moreno's Liquors, which is run by the Moreno family. Has been run by them for I think 40 plus years now. They are originally from Mexico, and they specialize in mezcals and agaves, but they're also, their craft brew selection is incredible. Their whiskey and bourbon selection is amazing. With them being in Illinois, I'm not sure if they do mail order to other states. I know, Old Town. Yeah. Well, Old Town can't send here, but.
Where are they located in Chicago?
They're located on 26th Street in the Little Village neighborhood, which is the near southwest side of Chicago. So if you're in downtown Chicago or familiar with it, probably about a 10-minute drive southwest, but certainly in the city proper,
so like
and
not
Cicero? In that general direction. They're actually just a little west and a little north of Comiskey Park.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where it is. Okay.
Yeah. Pilsen and Little Village are two predominantly Hispanic and predominantly Mexican neighborhoods in Chicago, just southwest of downtown. And they're kind of on the further out edge of Little Village. If any of you or anybody watching is ever in Chicago and wants one of the most incredible liquor store experiences of their life, it's the place to go.
Well, I tell you what, to bring it back to more less geeky, like I said, I love going down the rabbit hole towards
Sure.
stuff, and I know Tom enjoys that. But for those of you watching, I think it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. Maybe do a pub club live kind of hybrid, maybe, or simply just a meetup, because I think there's a lot of people who would enjoy just trying different things that they may not go to that neighborhood on their own. But if there's a group of people that are like, hey, we're gonna go check out this. Because frankly, like I walk around the Old Town liquor store, and I mean, it's like a freaking candy land. But I don't have any idea what one bottle is versus the other bottle. And this is the same true, for wine stores as well. That you walk down the aisle, you're like, well, that's a pretty label. But to go in there with an expert, I think would be great. So when things are ready in Chicago, let us know, and I think Kevin would love to support that as well. But
absolutely,
get that there,
and then we're all going to be there and party at your place.
Well, Ashley's a pub club live veteran, including when we had National Margarita Day. And were you on her Cinco? Yeah, she was on her Cinco de Mayo. No, that was St. Patrick's Day. Well, anyway,
they all explode.
They all blend together. One you wear a hat, the other you wear one you wear a sombrero, the other you wear.
National Margarita
So
Day. Cinco de Mayo. Okay.
Right. I have a question for Tom, the bourbon guy. We've been talking about agave spirits and a little bit about bourbon. As a bourbon guy, where are you on your agave spirits learning curve? What do you like? What do you don't like? Just what are your kind of general impressions of it? And if there's not much, let us know. But I'm just curious, as somebody coming from your point of view, what do you think? Where are you at? What do you like? Don't like?
Well, I mean, from what I have seen, and I don't drink tequila, mezcal as often now as as I would if I'm in California or whatever it might be. But I know a fair amount. I mean, I've interviewed a number of the distillers like Guillermo, like Pepe Hermosillo years ago with Casanoble. I like them, and I like mezcal. And there's some cocktails that I tried. Actually, there's one that I sent to James that I had right before I came home from the shutdown in New York at a place that's a cigar bar called Soho Cigars. And it was just a wonderful mezcal cocktail. It was made with an orange coffee simple syrup, I think it was, and it just was so complimentary to cigars. But I enjoy Blanco usually if I'm in a tequila. I like to sip on Reposados and Añejos, extra Añejos. And I'm sure there's a lot that I don't know that I could, always be learning more about. Sure. Yeah.
Well, Tom, you'll be happy to know that your educating me on actually how to drink. I know that sounds impossible for those who know me, but when we first started the show, James and you have a more appreciation for the finer things and bourbons and whiskeys and spirits and stuff like that. Or more, Tom has been more the slug it down. So before the show, if you handed me a shot glass full of tequila. Right, Ashley? She knows we've done it. We've done it on many times. If you hand me a shot glass full of something, I'm going to down it. I don't care if it's Jameson's. I don't care if it's tequila or whatever. But you gentlemen have taught me how to appreciate the fine spirits, such as we have here at Don Julio, and to sip them and not always shot them.
Well, right. Cheers to education, cheers to learning, and cheers to expanding horizons.
Absolutely.
And just cheers to Kevin.
Yeah, and I'm going to try this by itself too.
Well, I used to love Gabby's drink.
And cheers to Don Julio for making sure that we're never thirsty.
Yes. Don Julio's nice stuff.
I'll be waiting for it by the mailbox.
Yeah, it really is
Gabby,
interesting.
you like gin in Mexico?
I love gin and I've had gin, mezcal gin actually.
Now, what is a mezcal gin?
I've never
So
heard
a
of
mezcal
that.
gin, it's made from what is it agave called? I think it's called cenizo or like chinizo, but they use it from that agave, the cenizo agave, and it will still have like the flavors like your juniper and your coriander and your like orange peel, but they also add like avocado leaves and hibiscus and all kinds of other flavors to it, and like ancho chili peppers. So the mezcal gin is like just super flavorful, and it's really light, and it goes well with different kind of tonics and sodas, and it's just super easy to drink. The one I had, it you can definitely taste. Sorry,
Kit the tat. It's a little kitten. It's a cat.
You can really taste it's like almost like a sweeter agave. But it's like really light, so it kind of brings out like more of your floral tones as well. It's a really balanced gin. I might have to like find it at Old Town Tequila if I can find it and bring it down.
I have a quick question. So mezcal tequila is like a smoky tequila. Is it the mezcal that makes it smoky? Is it the gin smoky
No.
too?
All right,
Or
all
those
right.
are just totally different plants?
Mezcal is made from like the pit of the agave. So they have a big
Right.
pit underground that goes like 10 or like it's like 16 feet or something, 10 feet, and they put the palm of the agave plant inside, and they burn it with like different kinds of like wood chips, so it kind of brings out this different smoky flavor. And then they take that the palm, the agave root. I mean, correct, Darian, you can chime in to interrupt me in the.
They call it a piña, and I'm going to show you why they call it a piña, because
the heart of the agave.
If you look at the top of this bottle of Fortaleza, it looks like a pineapple. But what this is
like
a
pine cone.
right, but this is the heart of the agave plant. So the agave plant grows in the ground, has all kinds of spiky leaves coming out. They cut all the leaves off, then they take that heart, they chop the green parts off, and then this they call the piña, the heart of it, is what they roast. Now the difference between mezcal and tequila is cooked artisanal tequila, and in my humble opinion, anything worth drinking is always going to be steam cooked. There you go. That's what they
what
look
it looks like after the
right.
Yeah,
I'm learning so much today, y'all.
Right. Depending on the variety, these things are anywhere from like 50 to 1,000 pounds, and anywhere from like the size of a football to the size of a VW Bug. Some of them are just enormous.
Stop it.
Oh yeah.
And I'd
so,
recommend
anyways,
everybody go to I'd love to go up to tequila itself,
God, that's so
but there's
crazy.
actually some really nice tequila tours in Puerto Vallarta. So if you and also in Cancun, although it's not really, it's kind of a fake tequila tour, or like the Cozumel rather.
Right.
But if you do have a chance, definitely next time you're in Puerto Vallarta, make sure you take one of those tequila tours, because it's really fascinating watching the process of seeing the real live agave plant, and then watching these. I can't remember what they call them, but the pole arms with the blades. I mean, it's a pretty. It's kind of a badass knife that they used to cut off the cut the leaves.
Yeah, it's like something out of an old like Game of Thrones kind of fighting weapon or something that they use. It's pretty cool.
So even scarier than a machete.
Yeah. So just let me finish the difference. So with tequila, they will usually cook it in a brick oven with steam.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll cook it in a ceramic lined oven, which is generally considered less desirable. And sometimes what they do is they actually cook it essentially in an autoclave with chemicals and other things, and that you want to avoid at all costs, just because it's not good. It destroys the plant. With mezcal, they almost always cook it in the ground, in a pit dug in the ground, as Gabby was saying, with wood. Sometimes they'll leave it open to the air. Sometimes they'll cover it up and let it sit there and come back in a week and dig it up and wash it up. Then whichever one you're doing, they will mash it somehow. Artisanal tequilas and mezcals will be mashed either by hand with these large, big, mallets that they go up and down, kind of like a mortar and pestle. Some of them will use what they call a tahona, which is essentially a 2 or 3 ton piece of stone shaped into a wheel that's led around by a horse, and you crush all the stuff.
Seen that.
Oh, I've seen
that.
I've seen that.
Yeah. If Gabby's been to Oaxaca, I'm sure you've seen something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I love that. Was awesome.
Right. And then you take that mash, you ferment it, and again in tequila, it's generally, especially your larger industrial scale tequilas, they will add different kinds of yeasts to get a certain flavor profile. For real artisanal tequila and most mezcal and absolutely all artisanal or fancier mezcals,
Mhm.
it's all wild yeast. So basically, you got a pot, you got a big, 500-gallon vat of mashed agave fibers, and then the yeast from the fruit tree that's 10 yards that way, or the corn you're growing, or whatever it is, gets in there, begins to ferment. Again, depending on variety, ferments anywhere from 3 days to a couple of weeks. You take that out, you clean it up, and then you distill that product. In the case of tequila, it's once or twice. In the case of mezcal, it is almost always twice distilled. And in certain special varieties, they'll distill it 3 times. And those will be varieties where they're adding certain flavors in the third distillation. They'll add fruits or flavorings. They'll add pieces of meat in there and stuff.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah,
Did
they'll.
you say meat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
get it.
how was I did not see that?
Sometimes they add rabbit.
Yeah, so it's called a pechuga.
Yeah,
And the word the word pechuga in Spanish, it means breast, specifically like a chicken breast or a turkey breast cut of meat,
But maybe a rabbit breast, huh?
or an entire rabbit. They'll just what they do.
I don't want to hear all this.
This is what they do: is you have the big still, and inside the still, when you're distilling the third time,
Oh my
you will
goodness.
hang a piece of meat in there, or a killed rabbit, or a bird, or whatever you've got. They'll do it with beef sometimes.
Is
They'll do
it cooked
anything.
though? Is it cooked?
No. You put it in raw, and it distills, and the still is running for anywhere from 2 to 15 hours, depending on how much you're making. So it slow cooks inside there, and the juices from the meat go down into
Okay. So
what
it's
you're
being
distilling. Right, it's being cooked, and the juices mix
Sorry,
with
I'm on
the
the-
actual
cooked.
product.
I'm streaming.
A lot of times they'll do it also with herbs, fruits, spices.
Okay, so it's being cooked.
Yes, it's
Okay,
being
I'm
cooked,
like,
and the juices drip into your
Okay,
liquor,
okay.
and yeah.
Way
Yeah.
So
better
these
then.
are these some of the things that we'd be able to see if we did one of your tours down in Oaxaca?
Absolutely. And if you're
Okay.
interested,
I'm
this
very
is
curious now.
there's mezcal fans, then there's mezcal nerds, and then there's ultra nerds.
And
No,
then
no,
there's
the
just
ultra
curious
nerds.
People like myself.
Okay, then we'll start out. We'll go to Oaxaca. We'll have a great time.
Yay!
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
it.
For the ultra
Well,
nerds,
cheers to that.
for the ultra nerds, I can arrange what is called a Pechuga camp, where you go to a Mexican village so remote that you are an hour and a half away from a cell phone signal, and you spend 4 days in this village making your own Pechuga, including slaughtering the animal, preparing everything. putting the
No, don't say that. No, don't.
Oh,
No, I thought we were just drinking for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
We're signing up for that part.
yeah.
So are
Again,
you actually trapping? Are you trapping it, or is it harvesting
I
off the farm?
suppose I suppose you could arrange that if you wanted. I think what they usually do is they'll bring you the chicken, and they don't make you kill the chicken, but you see it slaughtered. You see, they pick the feathers off, they butcher the chicken, and then they give you the breast. It's like, okay, here it is. Go put it in the still. So
I think that's really cool. Clearly, it's not for everybody, but I think
no.
that primal experience would be really good. I would like to connect with you and see about putting an article together for Man Tripping, because I think that's the kind of thing
absolutely.
that a group of guys could do for a
Right.
divorce party or a promotion party or something like that. People laugh when
I
I say
mean,
divorce party, but it's a real thing.
I've just never heard it before until you started talking about it. Then I'm like, oh, I guess there is divorce parties, and maybe I heard it on a movie once, but.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the difference is that when
I
women
would
get divorced, it's
I would
like, hey,
join
we're all
on
going to go
this.
to Palm Springs, we're all going to go to Vegas, and
Ah.
or go to a
But
spa.
if it's a divorce party, then I can't come, and I'd be down for all this.
Well, yeah. It could be anything, but I think clearly you'd be down with it. Your Pechuga could be a rattlesnake.
I know. I was gonna bring it up. I was like, we haven't seen the pictures broadcasted yet.
So Darian, she looks like a young blonde from Hermosa Beach there, but and she is.
Sweet, innocent.
But she whipped out
I
a
saved
shovel.
the day. I saved the day. It was a machete shovel. It was like grooved on one side and a shovel on the other. It was like a shovel, but
I believe they call that a shovel, don't they?
I don't know. You just made it up.
Is that Yiddish?
There you go.
I sent you pictures. I mean, you can post it up if you want. But no, my friend who's an actor, he's always like the saving the day firefighter and the police, blah, blah, blah. He like froze. It made eye contact with him, and I was like, hand me the shovel. And he like hands it to me, and I was like, ah! You know, I had him twice, and then went full Dexter, make sure he's dead. Because snakes, they still move, and they're dead.
Yep.
And turns out you need a fishing license to kill a rattlesnake.
What?
In California, which I definitely said I did have when the police asked me when I was telling him about it. When he was looking at, did you get a
it
was a
penalty?
crazy Memorial Day weekend, y'all.
Did you get a penalty from DNR for killing a rattlesnake?
No, because they were worried about some body they found from some hiker 6 years ago.
Wow.
The story just keeps getting better and better. But
Kern River, y'all.
Either way, I think that it would be great to talk about longer term, how we can promote a trip down to there, and maybe maybe
cool.
Tom and Ashley and I do the
I don't know about a
Pachuca,
bunny, but maybe
and
that'd be fun.
I'll go to do Pachuca. I don't want to. You can do the slaughtering part. I can't. Do that.
Gabby and I will be in the non-slaughtering section of the tour. By the way, just to warn you, whenever Ashley travels, something's going to happen. Just to warn you.
Misadventures always follow me. It's never a dull moment with me. Promise.
Well, she can be a rattlesnake person.
That's
And I can protect you from a rattlesnake. Yeah.
Well, the good news is you can carry that mashuval or whatever it is.
It wasn't
Because I'm sure I'm sure the border patrol people in Oaxaca would have no problem having an American bring in a machete knife, shovel. As long as you don't bring in a drone or good camera equipment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, James, they are going to be right here in Pub Club World headquarters for Thursday's show. Ashley
we're going to be
are coming to San Diego.
Excellent.
On Thursday.
Road trip, yes.
Road trip.
So I believe we're going to break out the rum and make Bacardi because Gabby's been just dying to make those lava flows again.
I know.
Oh my God, I can't
Homemade.
wait.
So is that how you're avoiding curfew?
Yes.
Maybe.
We also have
What's the curfew in San Diego, y'all?
There is no curfew, but you can't have gatherings of over one person.
But we hope there's no curfew.
So as far as I know, you guys are staying in hotels.
We are.
By yourself. So
yes, we are.
Welcome to San Diego.
Woo.
We're gonna stay at the Woodham. I think it's right by Coven.
We'll make our own drinks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to narc on you, but the 200 people who are watching might.
Oh.
Well, I have a curfew at 4 or 6 p.m. here in Hermosa. So.
Yeah.
Long Beach is 1 for businesses and 4 for people.
4 p.m.
Crazy. 4.
Wow.
So we thought we had it bad in Hermosa, or LA County thought we had it bad. Then they changed it to 5 yesterday. I don't even know. It's just like
it was 6, then it
come on
changed to
now.
5.
Well, either way, welcome to San Diego. And for those of you wondering what it says on my glass, Virginia City, Nevada actually has a.
No, we really didn't care what your glass said.
We had a good time there, didn't we?
We had a ball.
Yes, we did.
So for those of you who don't know,
we literally did.
The test
More than one
festival
ball
there last year. We in fact were judges of their festival.
Oh,
Tom and James, I'd like to take you and of course Ashley and Gabby and all of our good friends on the virtual happy hour. Let's get a sponsor and do my best bars and motorsports tour, because that's a new article I have on Pub Club. All these traditional good old motorsports bars, usually in small towns, Seekins and Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Seneca Lodge, and Watkins Glen, New York, which has arrows on the wall. They have an arrow club, so they'll shoot arrows on the wall behind the bar, and then the race car teams come in and put their memorabilia, their hats and
like
shirts.
A bow and arrow?
On the arrows. A bow and arrows in the wall behind the ball.
I love bow and arrows.
That seems very safe to have people drinking and shooting bows with arrows.
Well, the key is stand behind them.
Well, you need to have Janet Atwell's bar in Bristol. Bristol, Tennessee or Bristol, Virginia, I guess, depending on which side of the bar you're on.
True.
has the state line run right down the middle, and Bristol Motor Speedway is right there too. So
I don't know one of them, but the article that you've seen, I'm going to add in St. Elmo's, which is more it's a famous restaurant in Indianapolis. Penske has his own room there, and but there's also a bar that a friend of mine told me about across from the Speedway, actually in Speedway, Indiana, which is across from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tom, you've been to St. Elmo's. They're famous for steaks as long as the arm. Was how it was.
Yeah, no, I have been to St. Elmo's. I had some friends that went there a week or so ago. They're famous for their
Shrimp
well, they're famous for their old fashions. They have a pre-bottled old fashioned now that they sell. I'll have to show you a picture of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's better than their.
But they're famous for steaks too, and all that. They do a great job. They're great people.
And don't forget about the strip club that's located directly across from the main gate at Indy. Also, that I have never been in, so everything is allegedly from my father-in-law and his friend. But
I don't know about.
That's how we support everyone.
My favorite bar in the motorsports circuit that is not a motorsports bar whatsoever is the Ocean Deck in Daytona Beach, Florida. Because it's right on the sand. You go from the sand inside. So that's my favorite bar.
I had one of my most bizarre nights in Daytona that started doing a pub club, or not pub club, but a pub crawl down whatever the main biker bar strip is, and it ended up at a bar where this was right after 9/11. Well, that was like 2014 maybe. I'm not sure when it was, but anyhow, the bar had urinals that were shaped like Bin Laden's mouth, and so
what?
so you're peeing in Bin Laden's mouth, surrounded by bikers, and it was a wild night. Fortunately, unfortunately, but certainly either way, proof that it was a wonderful night. I don't remember much more about that night after that bar and the bartender, gnarly old biker bartender girl, that we got wild, started creating our own drinks, and at one point she goes, "Are you sure you want to do that? That'll F you up." And we're like, "Yeah, woo!"
Yeah, we're like, "Let's do it."
And true to her prediction, it did. So. Cheers to wild nights in Florida at biker bars.
Oh my God!
So anyhow,
we've got a few of them. By the way, speaking of biker bars, Tom and Darren, I have got boots on the ground word that Sturgis, they're going to make an announcement in a couple of weeks if that's going to happen or not. But I have boots on the ground right now in South Dakota that tells me all the bikers are going to go there, even if they cancel it. I've been meaning to post a video interview with one of the longtime guys who's been going there for like 20 years. And he says they're going to go there regardless of whether they actually officially have the event or not.
Well, Godspeed.
Yes.
For you bikers here, there's some breaking news information.
Uh-oh. Well, that's the fun that happens in the last 20 minutes or so of the show as the tequila kicks in and we kind of get wandering off.
And Formula One has announced a 3-tier. Formula One has announced their schedule now. They're going to race into December. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Gabby's got a nice light there. I wish I could find mine because I'm getting darker by the moment because it's gotten cloudy in San Diego. I'm getting darker by the moment.
You're kind of fading away.
Here in Puerto Vallarta.
But I can tell you my great experiences in Mexico. I love Mexico. I have a friend that lives in Cabo. I have a good friend that got married in Cabo, and Mexico is a lot of fun. I have a pending PR project with some hotel properties in Puerto Vallarta and I believe Mazatlan. As soon as they can open up again, hopefully that'll kick up. Well, actually, hope not till my birthday, July 26th, because it looks like I'm finally getting my unemployment. So I don't want anything to happen before it.
Cheers to that too.
I think I'm finally going to get that, and I can just get my stimulus check, lost out there somewhere.
I got the first one. I had to work really hard to get the direct deposit, and now it's all being sent to my prepaid card. So I thought it was depleted, and I went and checked the statement because I wanted to know how much was left. And then I was like, oh, I got a payment on the 28th. And I'm like, whoa, yeah.
Nice.
Got mine right here.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you
Well,
go.
I think my-
You
yeah.
wanted that card.
But
everyone got their second payment.
On the 28th, I did.
You got
So
two?
if you haven't got it, so
I
I
got
got direct
zero.
deposit. First, I got direct deposit first time, and then they sent me a prepaid card, which confused me.
So there
But then
is a
they've been loading it
Yeah, I
into
mean,
the
you got
card.
it.
are you, well, there's the stimulus, and then there's PUA.
I don't even know.
Right.
I haven't done the math yet. It's just like everywhere. I'm just like, whatever I can get, whatever I'm getting,
so the
I'm okay
stimulus
with.
check is $1,200 per person, and if you have
A month
kids
or a week.
no, it's
No,
$1,200 per
one
person,
time.
one
One
time.
time.
And then
time.
if you have kids, then they
Don't
get
have
cash
kids.
too. Okay, well,
Bless their little hearts.
yeah. Well, anyhow,
No kids. No kids. No kids. No kids. I don't think anybody has kids. No.
but then there's unemployment / PUA. So in my case, as a independent contractor, I am getting, I think it's 167 from the state, and then I'm getting 600 a week. And I think Kevin, you're getting the same thing.
That's what I got sent yesterday, and is that like 3,000 a month? I mean, it's like what?
I'm very thankful for it. Either way, however it adds up, I'm thankful for it. So, someone's got a dog. Who's the dog?
It's right here, and she's.
Aww.
I'm like, that doesn't sound like Gabby's kitten.
I know. That was so funny when your cat attacked you.
She freaking jumped on my face while I was talking. She wanted to be on the show.
But anyhow,
I
I'm
she
cannot
sees our
wait.
neighbors outside
I
and
cannot
wants
wait to
go.
hold your kitten on
Oh.
Thursday. Seriously.
going to hit
Better
the
wear
end
some
broadcast,
gloves.
and then I'm
We can
going
hang out.
to just everyone hang out for a little bit.
But
So,
James, before
But we
you
love all our viewers, 100%.
go off, we open the show with me talking about the girl I met in Mexico, in Monterrey, Mexico, that didn't speak. That I had
Oh,
a date
they're
with.
describing this tequila glass.
I
or
sent
shot
you a
glass.
photo of.
Oh,
I sent you a
cool.
photo. So how about putting that up there?
I would need to transfer it to stuff. So I'm
Bye,
not
y'all.
able to put
Thanks
that up.
for tuning in.
I'm glad you met that girl,
Bye.
Kevin.
Yeah, we all
But,
are glad you made
anyhow,
that girl.
hopefully you guys can join us on
Great
Thursday.
story.
We were originally going to be talking with a guy from Minneapolis. I hope he's still okay. But we may be talking about coffee cocktails. We may be talking about something different.
But we're going to be in
either-
San Diego, so it's like it's going to be a fun adventure.
So we will be back on Thursday.
Okay.